I'm going to tell you things that have to go right and things that cannot go wrong for the Jaguars to live up to my bold prediction here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Without a doubt, it is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, credentialed member of the NFL media, here for your Jacksonville Jaguars. And man, it is almost go time. We are within 6 days of the Jaguars having a meaningful NFL game for 2025. And we're going to sit here and run it down for you and give you some bold predictions for today's show, which is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Shout out to the everydayers. Hello, welcome back. Like you are always here every single day. And if you're new, we're glad to give you a reason to come back, and you can catch the podcast wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen. Tap in so you don't miss an episode. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to give a bold prediction in segment 3. This is a roadmap to where we're going. So hang around for that. Right in the middle of the show, I'm going to tell you things that cannot go wrong for the Jaguars if that bold prediction is going to come true. And at the very top, things that must go right in 2025. There's a lot of layers to this, right? The obvious thing, first and foremost, that must not happen is Trevor Lawrence cannot be on a cart, golf cart, the other utility carts, whatever. He cannot have his hands on people's shoulders, limping to the locker room at any point this year. Nick Mullins ain't gonna cut it. That's just the bottom line. That is not foreign news to anybody that has watched the NFL for a number of years. Teams generally don't win when their quarterback goes down, their starter goes down. And there's obviously always going to be a drop-off to your second quarterback, unless the starter is a veteran and the second quarterback is the heir apparent. Then that bridges the gap just a little bit, but that's not the case here. Nick Mullins ain't no future for the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, he's a backup that knows the system that will allow them, the team, to call plays the way that they want to call plays. If Trevor isn't there, the result just would not be the same. The talent level is obviously different. So leading off with that, Trevor Lawrence has to be healthy. And I know people will say, well, Wig, if he's healthy, he has to play better than he did last year. I'm glad you said that, because that is also absolutely true. If you said it, I said it. But if you said it, it is also absolutely true. He has to play better. Before we get into what he has to do, he has to stay healthy. You can't play if you ain't out there. Ain't no playing better if you got your foot in a walking boot or something. One of the things that must occur for that to happen is the offensive line has to play like one of the top half offensive lines in the National Football League. I'm not going to say one of the top 25%, like someone said about a position here some years back, but I will say they have to at least be in the top half in terms of offensive lines in the league for them to have any success. And it's not just about protecting Trevor in the passing game. It's not just about that. It's about being able to move people so that the running game allows or causes the defense to stay home, to not sell out to the quarterback, to not be a team that the other team never has to blitz. They never have to do anything because their front four can stop the run and they can get pressure. When you can stop the run with your 4 down linemen, that allows your linebackers and your nickel to make sure that those windows are very, very small. And we've seen that in the past. Teams didn't load up the box to stop the Jaguars' run. Linebackers weren't peeking into the backfield. Safeties weren't making sure that they had their eyes on the box because the running game simply was not a threat, and it had nothing to do with the running backs. It had everything to do with the offensive line. And I believe the offensive line is why Doug Peterson, and watch out now, I'm about to give him a little bit of a pass. I think the offensive line was the reason why Doug Peterson had to call plays the way he did. I don't know how much power they had in the past as a coaching staff, but one of the things I will tell you is sometimes there's a cause and an effect. And this is not to say that Doug Peterson didn't do a lot of things wrong, but I will tell you this: it's hard to do anything as an offensive coordinator when your line can't block people. When you get inside the 5-yard line and you can't convert short yardage because your line can't block people. Having that running game and having a threat of a running game. No team wants to give up big plays, and no team wants to just get brutalized for a 14 play. Remember that drive the 49ers had that was like 19 plays for like 89 yards and took up 13 minutes of the Jaguars game against the 49ers a couple of years ago? I was like, oh my God, this is the beginning of the end, because now people see exactly what you can do to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's what happened. It's demoralizing. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes it. Football players don't even like it because it has a cumulative effect on how they can play. The offense then almost seems like they're desperate to score, because if you give them the ball back and you go 3 and out, they're going to get the ball back and they're going another 14, 15 plays. And so that's the threat that the Jaguars need to have. They need to be able to move people. They also need to be able to protect Trevor Lawrence to keep him upright. Now, if those things are better, which I think they will be, then it comes down to now Trevor has to play better. Well, now he has different tools and weapons to play with. Brian Thomas Jr. in year 2, Travis Hunter, rookie, dynamic player. Tim Patrick recently added some oomph, if you will, to that wide receiver group, because he's 6'5" and he's a weapon. Diami Brown is fast and has speed. If you get the ball in his hands, he can take a small play and turn it into a big play. And Parker Washington has been Mr. Steady Eddie, and he also can give you some minutes and not lose anything if you're going to play Travis Hunter a little bit more on defense. They got better at running back. They have a lot of versatility in the backfield, and a coach that wants to use those backs, and a coach that wants to play behind his offensive line, a coach that seems like with his staff that they are going to be thinking the game through and not just going out trying to figure out what's going to happen. So with the Jaguars being a team that had more one-score losses than any other team, I'm thinking that with all of those things, they can actually get better. I'm going to mention something too when I make a bold prediction. We talked about the explosives that can happen now on offense. Even if it's one more game, it's one more score. And there's another part of this in segment 3 I want you to hang around from that leads me to believe that the Jaguars will have a better season than a lot of people give them credit for. But we do have to talk about things that cannot go wrong if the Jaguars want to be successful this year. We'll get to that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in a stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, man, the app that gives you the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you'd like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. All right, here's what you need to do. If you're ready to play, you should be. Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We are moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. Make sure you dial yourself into the Locked On Podcast newsletter. It's lockedonpodcast.com/newsletter. Lots of interesting information there, especially if you're on a plane, you need to get caught up. And then it's just something to tap into to get yourself in a better position to make real good smart football decisions. So Locked On NFL has a great newsletter I want you to check out. The thing I want you to check out now, though, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. We talked about some of the things that have to go right. The main thing is the health of Trevor Lawrence and some push by the offensive line, things that cannot go wrong. And normally I don't do this, but there are some things that cannot go wrong. We're going to start at the very top. Trevor Lawrence can't get hurt. The bottom line, if that happens, just like most teams, and particularly this team, there's a huge talent gap between Trevor Lawrence and his backup, Nick Mullins. You just can't get hurt. He has to stay upright. The offensive line has to be exactly what they think it is, a versatile group that they have 8-9 guys that they're really comfortable with, and they can move people and play with a lot of physicality. That has to happen. This defense, though, cannot have the problems that they had last year. And I believe instead of looking at those problems, we'll find solutions. So I'll just point out what they have to do. Got to stop the run. I think they have done a good enough job creating competition, obviously, getting some guys healthy at the 3 technique, going out and adding depth at nose tackle. And then putting Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker in the best situation that they can be in, and not doing hockey substitutions, knowing who your leaders are, depending on who they start at linebacker. We know Foyesade Oluwakun is going to be the quarterback of that second level. But the other guys have to play. Devin Lloyd, Ventrell Miller, whichever way they decide to go, they have to make sure that they do a good job of filling in the gaps on the run game, and also covering people when they're running across their face. Too many times tight ends and running backs have run across their face, and even wide receivers dragging across from the slot. And it seems like they were always behind or had miscommunication. So hopefully with this new scheme under defensive coordinator Anthony Campanile, those things can be fixed. Obviously, there wasn't enough sticky in the secondary in the first game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Perhaps they fixed that, and I think it was guys getting used to from playing man-to-man and switching to zone, maybe passing players off and not having the communication that you want. It seemed to improve as the preseason went on, even though we didn't see the frontline starters as much. I do think that film from the Pittsburgh game can be a real good teaching tool, teach tape, a form of reference. Everybody always talks about teach tape when they see good things, but a bad tape can be good teach tape too, because they teach you what not to do. So that those things are areas where they have to improve. And you notice I'm talking about the line of scrimmage. You talk about the quarterback and you talk about the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and then the front seven on defense affects the defensive backs. So these are the areas where I think they can improve. The areas where I'm not worried about is skill position players. They're going to have people that's going to get open. They're going to have people that's going to turn small plays into big plays. They are built to have explosives and make life miserable for the defense. So when you're doing that, it comes with balance. We talked about the line. We've mentioned that the wide receivers are not a problem. Now they have to find a really good rotation at running back, pass protection, the ability to take those 3.5, 4 yards and not always try to hit home runs, concentration. There'll be a lot of situations where they have a lot of 2 backs. I'm interested to see how they use Travis Etienne as well as Tank Bigsby, and then even incorporate those young guys, whether it be BOMBSHELL Tootin or LaQuint Allen. They're not going to dress 4 running backs, I don't believe. And, Liam, even the head coach, even talked about that a lot, that they're not going to dress 4 running backs. So I think they're in a good spot with that also. Here's the big one, and this is the big one. Their inexperience cannot be bigger than their inexperience as a staff. It can't be bigger than the moment, right? The moment can't be too big for them. And what I mean is, there was a point at the end of I think it was game 2 in the preseason, where the Jaguars didn't try to kick a field goal. They tried to make one more completion, and people were thinking like, okay, is that something where you should have kicked it? I think they should have kicked it because Cam Little, who I'll mention in segment 3, can kick it from Brunswick or St. Augustine, whichever end of the field he's kicking it towards in our stadium, he can do that. But was that them saying, nah, what we'll do is we'll try to do this situation here in the preseason, but to see how the players respond and get a few more yards, or go ahead and run our kicker out there and make a kick that we all know he can make? Was it just that, or was it really a boneheaded decision and not really understanding the moment and feeling, having a feel for the deal that, hey, no, we got a dude that can kick this field goal from where it is now. We don't need those 3 extra yards that it would have gotten us on a completion. Those are the things. And when that happened, I said, this is something everybody's going to bookmark right here. They're going to bookmark and say, if he does stuff like that during the regular season, he being Liam Cohen, we're going to have a problem. And it just comes down to me that this is a coaching staff that's going to learn itself on the fly, going to create its own identity. And they're all doing things for the first time. And they're doing it against a whole bunch of people that have been doing it for a long time. And they're the best in the business. So there are going to be some bumps. There are going to be some things that they do they're probably going to make you scratch your head a little bit. But the good news is I think this staff will own it. I think they'll learn from it. And I honestly believe that you're going to witness this in real time, where they're going to improve themselves during the year. And it's going to be all gas, no brakes, man. So this is going to be a situation where they'll be willing to learn from any inexperience or any mistakes, because it's just we're just going forward. Dan Campbell did that a little bit with Detroit when he kept going forward, and then he stopped doing it a little bit. But it's just like, no, this is how we're going to be. This is where we're going to go. And Dan Campbell's considered one of the best coaches in the NFL. Bill Belichick has had moments like that where he decided to do something that he shouldn't do. And this was right in the middle of their dynasty when they were winning Super Bowls. So I'm not telling you that there won't be situations where Liam Cohen or Anthony Campanile or whoever won't be questioned. I'm just saying they need to own it. And if something works, good. If it doesn't, own it and say, this is just who we are, instead of leaving this thing from the past where you didn't know who was accountable for what, and guys are not really owning what they do, and the messaging and the communication that kind of felt like they didn't know what the hell was going on when they really should have. So all those things are true, and we'll just have to see. So I'm going to give you my prediction here. It's going to be bold. I think the Jaguars are going to win double-digit games. And I'm not just saying that with teal and black shades on. I'm going to actually give you the reasons. And some of them are special and some of them are not, but they are. What do I mean? We'll talk about it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here, and everyone's researching, drafting, and building their current championship squads. If you haven't joined the league yet, now is the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing Yahoo Fantasy Football on Yahoo. I'm doing that, man, for like the 20th time, and I am a veteran at it, but if you're not, this is the place to be, even if it's your first or your millionth league. With season kickoff on September 4th, now is the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers so many fun ways to compete. Want more ways to play? Try the brand new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated weekly until one team is left standing. Want to play instantly with friends? Try the new Draft with Friends mode. Prefer the classics? Get your crew together and go head-to-head in a private league. No crew, no problem. Join a public league. It's the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. And today's show is sponsored by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all the financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal financial tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I love it because it puts me and my wife on the same page with our financials, and we can do it all in one place, and that is Monarch Money. Don't let financial opportunities like this slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNFL. All right, it's time for bold predictions here on Locked On Jaguars. This is game week. It is Monday. Obviously, the Jaguars play their first game on Sunday, this coming Sunday at home against the Carolina Panthers. We're looking forward to seeing everyone at the stadium and have a good time. And hopefully the Jaguars get off to a 1-0 start. I don't want them to look past anybody. It's going to be critical, though. I'm going to pick them to win 11 games. I'm going to tell you why. 2 reasons. Explosives. I think they're going to be able to manufacture points easier with better offensive design and improved offensive line and improved weapons outside. I think the total picture for the Jaguars is this is a team that should get 27 points a game pretty simply this year. That's 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. And that leads me to the second part, special teams. I told you, special is the wide receiver. Not so special, but special are the special teams. We take that kind of stuff for granted when you have a bad team. Having a good punter like they do in Logan Cook and a real good kicker in, of course, wait a minute, somebody just hit me. A real good kicker, of course, in Cam Little. Cam Little set the preseason on fire with a 70-yard field goal. We all knew that Cam's a little dude with a big leg, and yeah, he can kick it a mile. And he kicks it straight. That's going to allow the Jaguars to manufacture points where they probably didn't feel confident before. How many times over the last 3 or 4 years did the Jaguars get inside the 40-yard line and they went for it? 1, because they felt like they had to get touchdowns instead of field goals, but 2, whether it was whoever it was back there kicking, they didn't feel as good about them as they should have. Well, Cam is the truth. In a lot of fantasy leagues, I got to bring this up because we just mentioned Yahoo Fantasy, and of course, y'all know y'all get this information too on Locked On NFL Fantasy Football. He was like the second pick of all the kickers in most fantasy drafts. And in some of them, he was first. Somebody beat me to it in one league, but I got him in the other. That gives you an incredible advantage that when you basically cross midfield, maybe the 45-yard line, you can run him out there and get points and feel confident that you're going to get those points. It changes the way defenses defend you, especially in end-of-game situations. You know that little red line that they draw on the field of like this is the line they need to get to in order to be in field goal range? Yeah, that's barely across midfield now for the Jaguars. So teams will have to play them differently. And playing them closer means you might give up a bigger play to Brian Thomas Jr., to Brenton Strange in the middle, or to that man, Travis Hunter, or to Diami Brown. Speed. The combination of their ability to have big plays and the little stuff, punting the ball, pinning the opposition inside the 10-yard line, constantly winning the field position battle, and a kicker that can kick it from 65 easily, it really translates. Now you're putting the team in a box. You have more things at your disposal. You're playing with more feel. And you're making them play with less feel, or vice versa. You're playing with less feel that is a place where you can't score from and forcing them to drive the entire game. All of these things are small things, but when you add them together and combine with the fact that they won only 4 games, but they were a team that were in the fourth quarter were in a lot of those games, but they didn't have the small intangible things, the ability to run the ball, the ability to control the clock, the ability to get first downs. And that's what running the ball helps you do. It helps you get first downs. It helps you believe that you can convert. You're going to get 3 or 4 yards of pop, and then all you got to do is just get a 6-yard pass after that, and you got a first down, and it eats up clock playing physical that way. So the Jaguars are, they have an advantage with two things that work really well together. One, we can manufacture points quickly and get chunk plays, but two, all we got to do is get so close and we can get at least 3. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I used to get so angry when they crossed midfield. It was like an adventure. Okay, here we go. What are they going to do? Having more of those answers pre-snap, having an offensive-minded coach that's going to be able to design things and keep things from being like Trevor Lawrence ain't going to have to be Superman. He can be Clark Kent, right? If the offense plays 62 to 65 plays, Trevor can be Clark Kent for 60 of those plays. Only between 2 and 5 times when you got to do something above the X's and O's and make a throw that not everyone can make, or do something with your legs that not everyone can do. This offense in the past depended on that. I don't think they're going to depend on it, but I still know that they can have that happen. Beat all of the teams you're supposed to beat, and beat a lot of the teams that where it's a toss-up, and then have the inexperience kind of go away by fire after the first 6 weeks. I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars towards the end of the year will be the team that nobody wants to play. Now, the Bengals were that team last year, but they didn't get in because they waited too long to get going. I don't think the Jaguars are going to get off to that slow of a start. In fact, I believe when they get to week 8, they'll have 5 wins minimum, and then they'll get better and improve after that. And if they have 5 wins at week 8 now, if I got them going 11-7, that would mean that they would go, or 11-6, that means they would go 5-3 and then 6-3 the rest of the way. I think that is very much, I'm not going to point to the games they're going to win or lose because I'm not going to do that to them. And then I have to see it for myself. But we have to see how it starts. But I am of the ilk that they're going to have a better season than a lot of people believe, because I just don't think that they, from a talent perspective, were a 4-win team. I think they were more like a 7-win team last year. And I think the things that they have done, it'll give them a chance to win 3 or 4 of those games. And I'm going with the high side in the number 4, because we're all about optimism here. That's right, on Locked On Jaguars. And we thank you for making Locked On Jaguars your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL season previews on Locked On NFL. Every division winner, breakout stars, and Super Bowl contender, an 8-episode series with everything you need to know about the NFL season. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We thank y'all for spending 28 minutes with us here today. It is game week, man. I'm excited for you, and I'm glad to have you here with us here every day on Locked On Jaguars. You guys take care. We'll see you tomorrow.